WYSL stations present an hour of truth for the battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We're here in the WYSL studio, and I've got Bob Savage here with me.
Yes, you do.
And we've got another special guest here on the show. We've got Chase Tkach, who's running for Orleans County Legislature.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So Orleans County, they have an interesting setup because they have at-large and district legislative seats. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And you're running for
At-large.
At-large. Okay, great. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about you? It's your first time running, so yes. The voters may not have gotten a chance to meet you yet. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up, some of your background.
Well, I was actually born in Brockport, but I actually moved away from there when I was about 2 years old. I moved down to Oviedo, Florida. That's where I spent about 14, 15 years of my life. From there, I kind of traveled off into different various places in the country, like California, Seattle, New York City is where I kind of started piercing, actually, for a while. And then I came up to here and decided to go back to my roots.
Cool. Very cool. And I know you're currently a student?
Yes.
Yep.
I actually go to college at Brockport, and I'm a major in political science, third year.
Awesome. Very cool. And so knowing that you're probably the youngest person in this election right now, is that?
Yeah, I'm 24.
Yeah, so that's a great thing. I know me personally, when I started my first run, I ran for city council a few years ago. I was also the youngest person running. And one of the things that I realized very quickly was that I felt that a lot of the elected officials were out of touch with my generation.
Yeah.
And that they had their ideas of how they wanted things to go, but for me, I had a different opinion, and they weren't even thinking about that opinion yet. So it's really exciting to see other people getting involved who, can bring more diversity to the legislature.
Definitely a lot of diversity. Checking a lot of boxes right now.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So I know we were talking earlier before we went on air here, and you had mentioned some of the stuff you were hoping to get into, like in terms of a career or a job, that I thought was pretty interesting. You mentioned that you wanted to get into welding.
Yeah, actually, I remember growing up, my dad had me help him put together roll cages for race cars, so something that I kind of wanted to pursue, a trade while I'm in college, because we all know that, college degrees aren't the best way to go, but I'm definitely really interested in welding.
Yeah, no, that's great. I actually, I think I posted a couple days ago, or maybe it was even last week, there was a report from Arc and Flame Center, which they're in Monroe County, and I think they're in a few of the other counties as well. They do some trades training, and they said that they're short like 400,000 people in the trades right now. Mm-hmm. So that's it's good to hear that. It's good to hear people are getting into that. You also mentioned that you're a homeowner. Sounds like you have a family. So
yes. I bought my first house in 2016. So I know the problem with property taxes and school taxes, and that's a huge burden.
Let me understand this, Chase. You bought your first home when you were like 20?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very impressive.
Absolutely. I'd say so. Definitely.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she's got me beat too. I'd have to go back and look, but pretty close.
I got my first one at 27, and I thought that was, in this day and age.
Yeah.
But That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like I own it though because of the property taxes. So,
Well,
do
yeah,
you really
Well,
own it?
that's the thing. Nobody ever really owns their property.
Yeah. Well, and that's such a good, thing to just bring up, the fact that, you are young, you're realizing what those property taxes feel like. You've lived in other states, although you probably weren't paying property tax at that point. But, if you have family in other states like I do, they're probably making fun of you.
Oh yeah, they all the time. If it's not the weather they're making fun of me for, it's the taxes.
Yeah, absolutely. I constantly get it, especially from like family down south. They go, You pay what? What? Like, well, you got 17 properties? Oh, that's one house. Man, it must hurt to live in New York. And yeah. So
I'd rather stay and fix it though than.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Good for you. That's great.
Yeah, that's very important. So let's talk. So that's a little bit about you. I don't know if there's anything else that we've left off that you want to talk about. Anything else about you that you want to share with people?
I don't really know, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
So let me understand. So you're interested in politics, obviously, because you're taking political science and you're running for office, but you're also thinking about being a welder.
Yes. Well, I got my start. Actually, my dad's a libertarian, so I was raised with libertarian values. This has been my whole life. So I knew which direction I wanted to go in from like very young age.
So would it be safe to say that you regard politics as kind of a necessary evil to having a good life?
Yeah, actually, I would say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
yeah, I would actually, I would agree with that too, because
Yeah. I mean, who enjoys politics? I mean, other than politicians, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
even them, I bet you they go home at night and I bet you they still don't like it.
Yeah.
I can't speak for them, but I bet you nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, man, I can't wait to put my politician suit on. But maybe they do.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
sure
know.
there's some of them.
There's probably a few.
And we can think of a few, I'm sure, right now.
Yeah, for sure. So, so Orleans County Legislator,
About a population of about 40,000. So
for the whole county.
yeah, 40,800 roughly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And since you're at large, you would actually be, running to represent all of them, not just the district.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very cool. What's voter turnout like in Orleans County?
It's not good.
It's not good.
It's not. I mean, there's a lot of registered voters and people that actually turn out for the general elections. The primaries not as well. Mm-hmm. Hopefully I made an impact and got people to hopefully I shook things up a little bit and got people to start recognizing that they need to be more involved.
Sure.
Especially the younger population, marginalized communities. Hopefully
Yeah, it's very interesting. I actually recently, I'm always looking at voter turnout, and where I lived in the city of Rochester, voter turnout was years in the single digits, which is just like really, really bad. I received a piece of literature in the mail actually from the Monroe County Conservative Party, which I'm on their mailing list. They send me the newsletter quarterly. But they're saying that voting in the city is up so much right now. They're predicting a 70% turnout for this upcoming
That's unbelievable.
election. Yeah,
that's a general election, though.
The general election?
For the general election in the city of Rochester. So I'm not sure what they're looking at countywide. They didn't have any numbers from Orleans County, but
that's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, if people actually come out, clearly the biggest concern for everybody, including you running for office, is hopefully those voters have been reached by the right people. Hopefully those voters are educated.
Hopefully they're libertarian.
Hopefully they're libertarian. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. But certainly we, that would just be mind blowing. I don't think there's ever been numbers that high, not on any sheets I've ever seen. Maybe it existed.
A lot of people are angry with, probably has a lot to do with, tax increases, the vape ban, the everything that's been going on in New York. It's a mess. Yeah. Everybody's mad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it'll be interesting because this is technically an off year too. I mean, there's no presidential this year. It's not till next year. So to predict,
what do you think that is, Andrew? Is it because of the? Is it because? I'll bet it's because of the schools. to a large extent.
So
the schools are such a train wreck.
Yeah. So schools would definitely be one of them, although it wasn't a driving force before. Gonna say this on air, but I think some of it is the presidential and people not knowing that the presidential isn't this year.
I was literally just about to say that.
So I hate to say that, but I think that might be some of it. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break here on Radio Free New York. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about Orleans County, and we'll be back shortly.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice, save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe, ride free, ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York
on the WYSL stations.
All right, we are back here on Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. Just want to remind you guys, head over to the Facebook page, search Andrew C. Hollister. Make sure you hit like and then click the follow button there. Make sure you select C first. And then head over to YouTube as well, Andrew C. Hollister on YouTube. Click subscribe, and then when the little bell pops up, make sure you click that. If you guys do that, you'll get notified when we go live, when I upload stuff. That way you can keep track. You guys can jump in the comments, ask questions, all sorts of good stuff. You can comment later after the show is up as well, and I usually try to get back and respond to everything. So today we have Chase in studio. She's running for Orleans County Legislature At-Large.
Yeah.
And, if elected, you would represent a little over 40,000 people.
Over 40,000, yep.
Yep. And tell me why you wanted to run for county ledge.
So I had a lot of options for the position I would run for, but because I originally thought about just district, and I thought maybe I should expand my horizon a little bit. So I went to a county legislator meeting, didn't know what the topic was until the moment I got there. Just so happened to be marijuana decriminalization. So I thought, this can't be that bad. It's 2019. I'm sure they've updated themselves on the facts a little bit, and I guess I was a little over my head on that and expected a little bit too much, because here I was watching a group of 50, 60-year-olds telling me that marijuana is dangerous and should remain illegal forever. And I mean, I understand some points they brought up, like car accidents or whatever, but if we were talking about not legalizing or not decriminalizing because of car accidents, we should be starting at, why aren't they looking at that for alcohol? I don't understand what,
So you felt like there was a double standard going on.
Exactly. And he was like, oh, when I was a kid, they told me not to do drugs. I was like, yeah, I tell my kids not to do drugs too. But, once they turn 18, it's their body, their choice. That's what it ultimately comes down to. And the government should never be involved in that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you went into this thinking like, it being 2019 and maybe thinking it's New York State, right?
Exactly. At the least.
Yeah. So you went in here thinking that that was maybe going to be overwhelmingly in the direction of decriminalization or possibly even legalization. And it was a big surprise to you.
Yeah. They brought in the doctor, they brought in the professionals saying this, that, and the other propaganda. And I'm like, you know what? Something's got to be done about this. If you want, I grew up with my dad always telling me, if you want something done right, do it yourself.
There you go.
Here we are.
There you are. Awesome. Yeah, and I marijuana legalization or decriminalization. Right now we have kind of decriminalization in New York. It could change, I guess, at any moment. You never know what's going to happen. But
it's not like you can have it, but you can't buy it and you can't sell it, or something like that, which is kind of weird because how do you have it?
Exactly.
Less than a 1 ounce. If you're caught with less than 1 ounce, it's a $50 fine. So let's just say you don't pay that fine, you're going to jail.
You're still gonna end up in jail.
Yeah. That's not real.
Absolutely.
That's not real decriminalization.
Yeah, and I know the way, and we've talked about it a little bit before on the show, but the reason that Cuomo specifically and state legislators went on board with this, in my opinion, wasn't the right reasons. They sat there and said, oh, well, the reason we're doing this is because we're arresting African Americans and Hispanics, disproportionately. And although that's a problem, that's something that I think should absolutely be addressed. That's not why you decriminalize marijuana. It should be, hey, you have the right to put something in your body if you want to.
Exactly.
And if that thing that you want to put in your body is bad for you, well, we'll be transparent about it being bad for you, but it's your body, and that's not the direction they took. So I think some New Yorkers kind of looked at it as a win. Other New Yorkers looked at it as like a terrible loss. And I think
nobody's happy.
Nobody's
right?
happy.
Everybody's alienated.
The funny thing is I don't even smoke weed. I've never enjoyed it, and this is purely for other people.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, and I feel the same way. I've never participated in any type of marijuana or cannabis products, and it's like one of those things. I don't have to die on this hill, but at the same time, I support other people's right to do just that if they so please.
Not to mention all of the veterans that are hooked on opiates that cannot find treatment for themselves, or even just the people that are diagnosed with PTSD that if they get their medical marijuana card, they have to surrender their Second Amendment rights. That's ridiculous. There's so many loopholes and there's so many things that they go out of their way to take your rights away if you just for treating yourself. It's disgusting in my opinion. So
yeah, and that brings up a good point with federal marijuana still not being legal, but being legal or decriminalized in some states. And, it's interesting to me because I've heard the ATF's opinion on this, but when you fill out that universal background check that everybody keeps trying to push for that we've had since
the one
90s.
that doesn't exist yet?
Yeah, that one. Yeah. So I recently made a purchase where I was required to fill out one of those forms. The people at the Monroe County Clerk's office told me I can't add any more pistols to my permit. There's just no more space. It's a different issue. Here
in Livingston County, we have a worse system. We don't have your guns don't go on your permit. they give you little slips of paper, which you put in your wallet along with your concealed carry, and which you promptly lose. So, I go to restaurants a lot, and so, I get all the restaurant receipts. I bring them back here. I record them, then I toss them or keep them as needed. And somehow my little slips of gun paper went away. No. So now I got to go over to the county clerk and probably buy new coupons for them.
Well, they're pushing the plastic cards now. They want everybody on the plastic cards.
I got a plastic card.
That's bad for the environment.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we should turn that back on the state. Hey, you ban plastic bags, but what about these plastic pistol permits?
Well, they're probably going to make print them on pasta like they're doing with drinking straws now.
Yep.
You see that?
Yeah. But yeah, so I made a purchase that required me to go through, a NICS check. And on there is the question, are you an unlawful user of marijuana? And then they've got a note on there that basically says, even if it's legal in your state, it's not federally legal. So
don't check this box.
Don't check this box. Yeah. And so I find that really interesting because
but the alcoholic next door is
sure. Yeah. The guy who is, has a history of being drunk. And there is a question about domestic abuse on the form, but there's not a question about, how many DWIs have you had or
who checks the domestic abuse box? Like the Joker maybe?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Some of the questions on there are just like, I think it's the very first question. Are you a fugitive of justice? Like if you're a fugitive of justice and you're in a gun store buying a gun, you're not going to check that box. And if you're going to check that box, you deserve what's coming to you. That's the best I've got for you. So yeah, I find it interesting that in this instance, you hear a lot about states' rights and that sort of thing. I find it interesting that in this instance, the state can make something legal, but federally it's still illegal. And that can.
Andy Cuomo's really good at that. He loves doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it's the other way around. Cuomo's always making stuff illegal. But in this case,
well, unless it's his pet, his pet issues, like driver's licenses for illegal aliens, that's and making the make it look like the what's the universal
the real
ID card, the real ID, right. So it looks graphically just like a real ID.
Sure.
So let's make sure that we promote as much confusion at the polls as we possibly can.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah. So I know we kind of went on a tangent there, but the Second Amendment tends to do that.
On that note, I am completely opposed to the SAFE Act. I'm completely opposed to the red flag law. Completely opposed to restrictions on firearm accessories, rate of fire, magazine capacity.
Let me play the great Karnak here, okay? Chase, how do you feel about mandatory vaccinations for your kids?
That's a good question. I'm not for the government forcing vaccinations. On that note, if you don't want to vaccinate your kid in order to, you mean like the school? To get them into school?
You can't go to school unless you've got the...
Homeschooling's an option. Okay. Homeschooling is always an option. Yeah. I don't want to... I'm not for government force. That's the basics of that. But I also, I have a child that if he gets sick, I have to give him 3 doses of steroids every day, So vaccinate your kids, please.
Yeah, the vaccine thing, I don't know if we've discussed this piece of it on air, but I feel like vaccines are becoming really controversial. Yeah. Especially with the ban.
The HPV that's a big issue because the HPV vaccine really makes a lot of kids sick. A lot of kids.
Sure. Yeah.
Mysterious kinds of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and to Chase's point, there's a lot of people who want to know that their kids are going to be safe, but at the same time, you don't want to use government force to force something on people.
Well, if there's a kid at school that has hepatitis, they're allowed at school, but if my kid doesn't have the hepatitis vaccine, he can't go to school. So to me, that there's a lot of contradiction happening here.
Yeah. It's interesting because a lot of libertarians are saying, well, what would fix this if government wasn't participating in education. But
there's that too.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. We want to go deep down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. But that's something that a lot of people they're just clearly not comfortable with. I mean, we've had a public education system for so long, people can't even envision what a United States or New York or an Orleans County or anything like that would look like without public education.
Well, I've also had public education, but it's never been top down from the federal through the state to the local. Public education was always a local issue.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom was the head of a school board here in a small town, right where we're sitting right now. And I remember the phone ringing, and parents would call her up and talk to her about issues concerning the kids and about the school. And that's the way it should be. I mean, you should have access to your local government, right?
Yeah.
And not this top-down stuff that started with Jimmy Carter. Thanks very much for the Department of Education. That's where all the mischief starts.
The issue is just not enough people want to be involved. Not enough people want to be involved in their kids' lives, and they're too busy staring at their laptops.
That's a great point. I mean, so many parents these days are delegating the raising of their kids to the local school districts.
Yeah,
and that's not a wise thing.
It's becoming a babysitter instead of an actual education system.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I see people saying they wish that we had communities again. The idea that you would go to your neighbor and ask for a cup of sugar or some flour or something like that. But at the same time, you've got people who they want the community, but they also don't trust their community. And then they want to send their kids away, to school and let somebody else raise their kids in a certain way.
Well, that's what I'm hoping I bring back to Orleans County at some point. It was like a sense of community, getting people closer, getting people more involved, and giving them a reason to wake up in the morning and say, I want to make Orleans County a better place to live for me and my family.
Yeah. No, that's great. And also being able to say that you're a homeowner, you're a parent, you left the state and you came back.
Yes.
We'll see how you feel about that a few years from now. But no, and so the idea that you're willing to stay here, you're willing to fight, you want something better for your county.
Absolutely. Even if I don't win, I'm gonna keep fighting. I'm gonna keep going for it until I make an actual impact.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I just for fun, since we were talking about education and the Department of Education, October 17th, 1979. Is when the Department of Education came about. And
thank you, Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. And I just got to ask, all the people that went to school before then, did they not learn how to read and write and talk and do math and all that?
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
like open carry in Pennsylvania. I mean, have you ever noticed when you step across the border, it's littered with bodies?
Oh yeah,
I mean, the blood is just running in the gutters. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'll never forget when I went to Pennsylvania post SAFE Act, and it just there was like a little bit of like freedom in the air, like this idea that you didn't have to worry about laws that are just over encroaching and stomping on your rights. It was definitely an experience, and that shouldn't be the case at all.
A little bit of prosperity in the air too. Fracking right over the border.
Yep.
What a concept, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, we're gonna take another quick break here on Radio Free New York. We'll be back in a moment.
You're listening to the voice of liberty. AM 1040 Avon, Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, FM 95.5 Spencerport, and WYSL1040.com everywhere.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Radio Free New York on WYSL.
AM 1040, FM 92.1, and FM 95.5 West.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and today's public service announcement is Election Day is coming up.
Yay! We can make a big difference, folks. But
Yes.
you gotta show up.
Yep, gotta get out.
Gotta show up.
Gotta hit the polls. November 1st is Election Day, and if you're not registered to vote, you need to go get registered to vote. Unfortunately, if you haven't registered to vote, you're not gonna get a chance to vote in this year's election.
Well, November 5th would be mine. Would be the...
Yes. Yeah. But in terms of if you haven't registered to vote yet, you've missed the deadline. You can vote next year. You can vote in the next election, but you've missed the window. I think the deadline was October 11th, if I recall.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't registered to vote, get out and register to vote anyways. It's really, really easy. You can go to your local Board of Elections. You can jump on the New York State DMV website. You can download the form and print it right in your home. There's really no excuse, guys. No excuse at all to not go out and get registered to vote. And if you are registered to vote, you've got no excuse to not vote, because we even have early voting in New York now. So very important. Go out, vote. You can look up your voting location right on your County Board of Elections website. It's really important. I'm going to say it one more time. Register to vote. Go out and vote. Do it.
Yeah, and if you're registered, don't. We always say this like a broken record. Don't fall for this line that, they're all a bunch of crooks.
Yeah.
They're all a bunch of crooks, and nothing that you do ever makes any difference. That's just not true.
Well, that is.
And if it is, it's because you didn't vote.
Yes.
It's because you didn't vote for somebody that's not a crook.
Exactly, and that's the lie that keeps it that way.
Right.
The
only vote that doesn't count is the one you don't.
Exactly.
You don't vote.
Yeah. If you don't show up and vote, you're right. It doesn't count. But if you show up and you vote, and we've had some local elections, and this year is the year of local elections. There's city councils, town councils, there are mayorals, there are town supervisors, there's county ledge, county exec. There's a DA race in Monroe County. There's some county court seats open. There's a couple state Supreme Court seats open. But by and large, this year is a local election year. And local elections are the time where you get to participate with the people that would be elected that are literally the closest to the people. These are the people that you can reach out to, the people you can call. These are the people that might live up the street from you. So local elections are just so important, because this is your first step. This is your first voice.
And if you ever heard any of them talk and say, man, I could do this better, maybe you could.
Yeah.
Maybe you could do it better. Give it a shot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I hear people say that often. They say, wow, so-and-so, they're such a crook. I wish somebody would run against them. You know, oh, look in the mirror. Maybe it's your turn, you know. And
here's your sign.
yeah, absolutely. So it's really important. I'm always very excited about local races because I get to, you know, actually meet people who usually care about their community. You know, and we've got the other side too. You've got your career politicians who, you know, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you meet, you know, a career politician and they make you feel warm and fuzzy, and they've been in that job for a really long time. And that's why you feel warm and fuzzy, because, you know, they're good at that. That's what it is. But public service was never meant to be a career. You know, it wasn't. It was meant to get out there, do what you think is right, help serve your community, keep government small, keep government minimal, and
accessible.
Yeah, accessible.
Transparent.
When was the last time you had a conversation with your congressman? When was the last time you had a conversation with your senator?
Yeah. The thing that I think bothers me the most about that is most people don't know who their congressperson is or their senator. And if you ask them who their county legislator is, many of them probably don't know.
Ask your kids, do you know the 3 branches of government?
Yeah.
And it's not meat, poultry, and grains.
Yeah. But no, it's a problem. We do have like a lot of uneducated voters. The public school system hasn't helped with that at all. And in parts you don't want them to, because you don't want people coming out indoctrinated. I know that's happening anyways.
Good luck with that.
It's like a factory.
Yeah. But it's something that, you know, I almost wish they did like mock ballots in school. And I know some schools do, but there's a lot that don't anymore.
Well, that's, you know, look, I mean, the politicians love it when you're stupid.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. The thing about that is, the more uneducated people are, when something fiery does hit the media that is just not true, it doesn't matter, because a lot of people don't know.
They don't understand it. And besides, the media is lying anyway. You know, the media is the handmaiden of big government these days.
Yeah.
In some cases, they're not, like this radio station. But,
yeah, absolutely.
Well, the problem I also see is that there's, you know, when people my age, they look and they see who's representing them, you know, they don't represent them, and that's why they don't pay attention. So hopefully, you know, if it comes a time where I am elected, it'll make them, you know, just look at me at least saying, I'm young, I'm a young homeowner, and it's possible if they can do it, I can do it too. And, you know, give them a reason, give them some hope.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that is a huge takeaway, is that, you know, the only person preventing you from running for office is you.
Yeah.
You know, you can stand up and say, I want to do this. And some people say, oh, well, you know, I'm not in a party, you know, I'm an independent or whatever. Well, first off, check out the Libertarian Party. And then, but then after that, I'll tell you what, there are people who have ran in the city of Rochester, one of the races I'm very familiar with. They literally just ran as an independent on the ballot. They did that. They collected the signatures. They got it done. I know somebody else who they're a part of a party, and they said, I'm registered to this party, but I don't want to be a part of the politics in this party. They went out and got themselves on the ballot without the party at all. They just went out there, collected the signatures, got their name on the ballot. And the party, I think, is kind of upset about that. But that's how the process is meant to work. It's not meant to be, you know, somebody kind of gatekeepering who the candidates are. So yeah, it's a great thing having people run locally, and I think it's the most important part. You know, a lot of people say, well, there's 2 ways to change something, either top down or ground up. Local politics, that's a great way to start. You know, you change the hearts and minds of your community, and then once your community has that, then you go to the next step and the next step, and before you know it, New York State could be a better state.
It's also nice to, you know, see somebody like myself running, you know, a young, full of tattoos, not a socialist.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of young people running, but, you know, 80-90% of them, they're all socialists. They got to look up to something that's not a socialist, you know, at some point.
And see our previous comments about being indoctrinated in schools, because the mindset and the political bent of most people in education these days. People who pursue an education career, they're extremely left wing.
Yeah.
And so they sign on to all these political, they become ideologues, and they pass that along to the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, something you brought up that I know we've talked about, you mentioned that you have a lot of tattoos. So those of you who are listening to the radio, you can go online and check out the podcast later. But you mentioned you thought that something like red flag laws could be used against you based on your appearance, and that was a concern for you.
Somebody could just take one look at me and say, this person just looks mentally unstable, so I don't want her to have guns. Take one phone call, go to the court, get whatever paperwork they need, and then I can't protect my family, and then that's the end of that. And that's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying. I'm a proud gun owner, and it saddens me that this red flag law, I know at some point is probably going to, it might be tried on me at some point. I don't know. Just because of the way I look, that's terrifying.
Yeah. And that I think is important to bring up, because when we talk about red flag laws, I don't know that I've ever heard anybody bring up that perspective before. A lot of times I hear it coming from their idea of what they might post on social media or something like that. But that's such a valid point, and I think it really deserves a voice that, somebody could look at you, judge you based on how you look, assume how you may or may not be, and if they know you have a firearm, it's really actually opened the door for discrimination.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's that I thought was important. Now I know that you've got something that you wanted to share about the taxes have gone up in your county.
Yeah. So the Orleans County Legislature just passed a major tax increase. So basically this is going to hurt the county, but there's definitely a solution to this. So I'm thinking nearly 35% of Orleans County expenditures are used for economic assistance for those living below the poverty line. So basically, the most important thing that I can plan to do to resolve this issue as a county legislator is to help improve the local economy, to help people earn a living above the poverty line. So one change that should be...
So just to kind of reiterate, it sounds like there's a lot of people getting government assistance right now.
Yeah.
And that number sounds high. I wonder what it is for other counties, if that's above average.
Well, if you take all forms of assistance, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff out there from EBT cards to, I guess universal pre-K, school assistance and everything else.
Yes, we could also relax the zoning laws.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
to improve the economics. Sure.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to get rid of it, there are some state laws that assume that there's zoning. My ideal workaround is just to let people do what they want with their property, as long as they are not harming others, polluting, or laying waste into it, and
Yeah, another thing you can do, folks, is you can go, following up on what Chase just said, go to your meetings. Go to your town meetings, go to even your zoning board of appeals meetings, go to your school board meetings, and you'll hear this jargon being bandied about. Like, for example, towns are endlessly talking about their comprehensive plan. They have a comprehensive plan, which is basically, it's a study of it's a recurring study of the zoning and the land use in your town. That, first of all, they hire some outrageously overpriced consultant to at taxpayer expense do these studies.
Probably somebody's buddy.
Well, of course,
somebody's buddy.
But you go around most of these towns, there's like 2 companies that do this.
Sure.
And they're like 70. Just the plans are 75, 80 grand. And what that is that's the blueprint by which they plan to deprive you of your property rights.
Yeah.
You can't build on that property. You can't drain that property. You can't improve that property because it's not consistent with the comprehensive plan. Look out for that.
Yeah.
Well, on the topic of property, we can also try to allow people to beautify their homes without fear of, the assessor coming by and raising their taxes as a result. Maybe put a cap on that.
Yeah, I tell you what, I hear especially people in retirement age constantly saying they wish their home was better, but they don't want to improve it because if they do, they can't afford to live there anymore. They'll be pushed out by the assessment. All right, guys, we're going to take another break here on Radio Free New York. We'll be back in a moment.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Fiorella, a family-owned farm-to-table Italian restaurant with casual atmosphere at the newly renovated Rochester Public Market. Fiorella offers wood-fired, old-world-style pizza with naturally leavened dough, house-made fresh pasta, desserts, and gelato. Enjoy craft beers, imported Italian and New York State wines. Open Wednesday through Saturday for lunch and dinner. Wednesday evenings enjoy no corkage fee. And Thursday is gnocchi night. Call 434-5705 for reservations. View the menu on the web, restaurantfiorella.com.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York
on the WYSL stations.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. This is your host, Andrew Hollister. I've got Chase running for Orleans County Ledge here.
Hello.
And of course, Bob's still with us. He hasn't gone anywhere.
No, still here. Yep. Soldiering on, as they say. So was there something that you want to tell folks, Chase, about your name? Because you've got your married name is Tkach, right?
Yes.
Or Tkach?
Yes. Tkach is my married name. My maiden last name is Macaulay. So if there's anybody out there from Medina listening, I am a Macaulay, certified.
Yep. So you said you've got a lot of family out there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
My uncle owns a business out there. My grandfather owned a bunch of business out there. My grandfather actually used to own the Penny Saver back 20 years ago. So
okay, there you go. Very cool. So if you're just joining the show here, we left off. We were talking a little bit about taxes in Orleans County. It sounds like the taxes were recently raised. Chase mentioned that she thinks that one of the ways to resolve this issue is to improve economic stability in the area. And one of the ways to do that is to address things like zoning and regulations on small businesses so that they can operate, freely. Absolutely.
And not just that, and just cutting the county spending, hypothetically, if you look into the county, any county budget, you could see something like they spent $1,000 on a chair or, just some simple things like that. If we could just cut down on that, we could start there. And, then we can maybe focus on lowering the taxes, as a result.
Yeah. And actually, I think that that's a very important distinction that you made. And I don't know if people caught it right away or not, but the idea of cutting spending instead of cutting taxes, because everybody promises to cut taxes, but they never say how, and they always increase spending, so the taxes never actually get cut. The idea of actually cutting the spending, the money going out, then gives you the ability to later reduce taxes.
And imagine if everybody was getting all of their paycheck. That would bring way more people above the poverty line.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Less people on social services and.
Yeah. So would it be a fair assessment to make then that you would be in favor of, in county ledge you can't do this, but you would be in favor of trying to get rid of something like New York State income tax or something along those lines? Yeah. I can't wait for somebody to come in here and say, no, I want to increase the state income tax.
Well, one thing I can guarantee, if I am elected, that I will never, ever, ever vote towards increasing a tax. I will always vote no on that.
Read my lips.
Awesome. Yeah.
That is a promise. That is a certified promise.
There you go. So, what else? Is there anything else about the budget or spending in general that that you think could be done better or maybe differently in Orleans County? Nothing that comes to mind right off the bat?
I got one. Call on me. Here in the back row. Mr. Savage, I got my hand over here. Chase, why did you choose the Libertarian Party as opposed to the ass and the elephant?
You know what? They welcomed me with open arms. They looked at me as a person and not, as an identity of any sort, It really came down to that, and plus, I'm a huge Second Amendment supporter. And that was one of the first things that drew me in, and also being, LGBT, and they were, it seems like the other parties just kind of used the LGBT community as kind of a pawn, or just trying to get their votes. They actually were very accepting of them. Ending the drug war, there's a huge thing. That was a major thing when I looked into the Portugal 2001 decriminalization, and I knew that was a huge hot topic in the LP. I got so into it that it only took me a couple of years to form an ICO in my own county. I formed an ICO in my own county, just became the chair, elected the officers, and here I am, 24 years old, chairman of an entire county. Organization.
So for those listening who don't know what an ICO is, that is an interim county organization. Last year, the Libertarian Party got what is called ballot access in New York. So what that means is there's now county organizations popping up for the Libertarian Party, and you set up the one in Orleans County.
Yeah.
You're building that organization, building the party right in Orleans County. That's probably another feather in your cap. You know.
Yeah. Well, the first one was becoming the state committee member. So after that, I was like, maybe I'm capable of a little bit more than I think I am. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's the case for a lot of people.
Yeah. So you at least seem to have some leadership qualities.
Absolutely.
You're not afraid to jump in and work hard. So I think that's awesome. You look at some of the other parties in New York right now, the minor parties, and there are parties that don't have county organizations in most of the counties in the state. There's maybe a couple in Monroe County, but even those are kind of questionable. Like Green Party, for example, I think they only have 2 county organizations in the whole state. So to pick that up and take it on yourself is says a lot about at least your wanting and ability to pick up hard work and go
absolutely.
For it. So that's awesome. Let's see. So you told us why you're running for county ledge. You told us about, being a homeowner. You told us about you're currently a student. You're doing a lot. You're doing a lot. County ledge, is that full-time, part-time?
That would be part-time.
Part-time. Okay. Awesome.
And I've actually vowed to give I've vowed to give 50% of my salary as a legislator to a foundation that actually helps children like mine with adrenal leukodystrophy. So I'm not even doing it for the money. I could care less about the money. I want a better place to live for me and my family.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things when I meet with people, it's always refreshing to hear where you've come from, where you want to go, what you want to see with your community. And it's just great seeing a young person who's got a family in upstate New York who is willing and ready to take something like this on and try to change your community for the better.
Yeah, that's all I can do. Gotta just try my best and hope for the best.
Awesome. So if people want to check out your campaign, learn more about you, what's the best way that people would reach out and contact you?
I do have a personal Facebook page. You're welcome to add me if you'd like. It's just Chase Tkach, Tkach. You're also welcome to go on to my other Facebook page, which is Chase Tkach for Orleans County Legislature. And then there's another one for the Libertarian Party of Orleans County.
Okay, great. So a whole bunch of different places to reach out to you at. And the number one question you get from voters when you meet with them as you're out there, what is it?
What do you think about Trump?
What do you think about Trump? Yeah.
That's the first question.
That's the first question.
It's an unfortunate question because it really doesn't matter what I think.
Yep. That's very true. I got that a lot, actually, now that you think about it. Now that you mention it. I think people get that at family gatherings too, even. It's Thanksgiving dinner, and that's probably the question. So, you guys, this was another episode of Radio Free New York. We had Chase running for Orleans County Legislature with us, and I look forward to joining you guys on the next show.
Election day coming up. Get out there and vote. Thank you, Chase.
Yes, thank you so much.